What's up? What's up? It's your boy Big Ben, and you tune into another episode of Let's Go to Church Gospel Show with your boy Big Ben. And today we got a legend in the industry. He's been in the industry for years now. He's the CEO of Root Magazine. Mr. Hold up. He said, I'm gonna say it up front. Mother, if you're watching this, don't get mad at me. Hasan.
Thank you, Ben. I listen, Mom. I told Ben, do not be calling me Mr. James and all of that. And he was like, "Man, you and my father's the same age." I said, "Wow, I guess you could." But he and I are peers in the industry, so he can call me by my first name. That's fine.
So, guys, let me tell y'all, he's been in the industry for a while. He has created in open platforms. So just recently in Vegas, he did a anniversary for Root magazine, his magazine he's been doing for decades now. So it was a 15 years,
15 years, so a decade and a half. Yep.
decade and a half, or that decade and a half. But that's still he been doing it long. Look, before Root magazine, he was doing stuff as well. We're gonna talk about that tonight. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Hasan, okay. Hasan.
It's fine. You can't help it. You're a Southern gentleman. You can't help it. It's fine.
Okay. So, Mr. Hasan, please tell the audience a little bit about yourself and also how did you get into the industry?
Okay. Well, first, Ben, thank you for this opportunity, man. I appreciate you. We've been, kind of following each other for the past couple of years. I really love what you're doing. I get all your emails, from what you're doing as far as pushing independent artists in the radio space, as your promoter, and for you to be so young, and have the wherewithal to do even that to push our industry forward. That's really great, man. So kudos and I, basically, man, I'm a church boy who grew up. I'm from New York City originally, from the Bronx, and I grew up in church. But my mom, when I was a teenager, she started doing like party promoting, and she, some of the biggest hip hop acts at the time would, perform at her clubs that she was promoting at. So I had kind of had like the best of both worlds, where I, was in church, but then also had the other side of, um, party promoting and helping my mom out, giving out flyers and stuff like that. So the entrepreneurial spirit was birthed in me at a very, very early age.
Right.
Why I'm do that. And then I went off to college, and one of my boys, he left probably like in our second year, and he came back home to New York. And when he came back, he was like, "Hey, man, I joined Hezekiah Walker's choir." And I'm just like, you don't even sing like that. What do you mean? You joined the choir. He's like, "Yeah." So it's just so happened I had, I was like, I don't want to go to school anymore. I was coming back to New York, and I was just, it was the school upstate New York, but I was coming back to the city.
Right.
I start going to school there. So I was actually coming back home that summer. He was like, "Yo, you should come join the choir." And lo and behold, that's what I did. Fast forward, he only lasted another like 6 months, and then he left the choir and kind of moved like to Texas, something like that. So here I was, now in this whole new world, joined Hezekiah Walker's choir, and we literally traveled the world. Like when the first couple years, I ended up going to London. I got my first passport, and we did the Live in London project with Jesus Is My Help on there. And I was like, at that point, I was like maybe 20, 21 years old. And then, I fast forward probably 10 years after that, I've always been into magazines and stuff like that. And I was like, maybe I should create a magazine. But I wanted something that kind of spoke to me. Because we had the Gospel Today magazine, which was a great magazine. And I looked up to Teresa Hairston for what she was able to create. But I wanted something a little more edgy, like the magazines I was reading, which was like, this is a little before your time, Ben, but like the Source magazine, Vibe, those were like the magazines growing up in the 90s. But I wanted something like that for gospel. So then I worked in advertising at the time, and I was able to kind of pick people's brains as far as, fonts and logos and, names for the magazine, and came up with Root. And I got a prototype done. And then, the rest is kind of history. I did the first issue in 2009. Yep.
That's an amazing accomplishment. A lot of people don't understand creating different things for people to even submit their stuff in uh, is a lot of work. A lot of
Yeah.
times you gotta think, okay, even during the holidays, sometimes they come out holiday editions of magazines, and
Hmm.
it's a lot that you have to put into it. So, can you, what are some pointers that you can give an upcoming person that wants to do a magazine, but don't know how to do it? If that makes sense.
That's a great question, actually. So again, even in 2009 when I started, Ben, um, to be honest, print magazines was on the decline.
Wow.
Um, I had a lot of people tell me, "Man, just go online, just do online." And then initially we did. We started out online, and it was really, really good. And my website was really dope, colorful. Um, had a lot of information on there, and I had something that I put on there called the Root Box, where it was just different songs,
Right.
um, like a player, and we'll play different songs all day on the website. People love that. Ironically enough, right now I'm at the radio station where I'm a music director, and the name of my show is the Root Box. So you a full circle moment. I never thought I would be doing radio, but as a result of the magazine, God opened up other doors. Um, but like I said, it was on a decline, print
Mhm.
magazine. But after about the second issue online, I still felt led to do something in print. So what I did was I kind of created a niche where I would go to where the people are. So we would go to the Stellar Awards,
Mhm.
print, a bunch of magazines and just give it out. Because one thing I did was my very first print edition, even before I started doing the Stellar Awards, was I printed up 1,000 magazines and I went to the gospel music workshop.
Yeah.
And then like, man, we gonna go here. It's Kirk Franklin's on the cover. Like, yo, we about to kill it. 1,000 magazines at $5. We about to make this quick $5,000. And I printed all these magazines, went to GMWA, and sold about 8 copies.
Wow.
So man, like, so it kind of showed me, like, people say they'll support you, but they're like, oh, this is nice, but don't want to spend $5. But as a result of that, Bishop Jameson came to me. He was, he's the chairman of GMWA. He was like, listen, I like this magazine. This looks great. Next year, you can do our journal. So he stuck to that word. So the following year, I did the journal for GMWA. And, whereas before their journals were just plain, it was just basically the services for the week and stuff like that. But what I did was I made it more interactive to where it was two parts of it. It was like the artists and there's stories in there, plus it was their service times and stuff like that. So people really loved that because they kept it. It was, how sometimes you just throw those journals away because I
Yeah.
don't need it, but it was like a magazine journal. So, I partnered with them for about 3 or 4 years. And, it was just from there, it was just like Rue Magazine was one of the biggest in the industry because at that time, Teresa Harrison and Gospel Today, they kind of retired and went on to other things. So we became the staple in gospel. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh, but to answer your question, sorry.
No, you
Um,
could.
I would tell anybody, man, to follow your heart and follow God. Because again, if I would have listened to people who told me just do online, we probably wouldn't have made as much of an impact. So listen, just we're in the social media age now. It's so much at your fingertips. Like this generation, it's so much you can get with AI, with Chat GBT. It's like it's so much that stuff that I didn't have, man. I would literally have to interview people like how you're interviewing me now. You
Yeah.
can actually record Zoom and it transcribes. And you don't have to do nothing. Everything we're saying now, you could hit transcribe and it'll just come out. When I started, man, I was recording people and typing when I was done, question and answer, question. So it would take, hours or days for me to finish an interview.
Right.
Um, and I would have to edit it. So I didn't have all of that. Right now, you have so much, at your fingertips. So, pretty much sky's the limit with all of this stuff with social media, with YouTube. You guys can really just do so much. So you can go so much further. So just follow your dreams. Follow, get some books on on magazine publishing. But yeah, I think it's much easier now, and you have so much more access. So yeah, just follow your dream, follow your heart, and just do it.
So, what out of all your issues, what was your most favorite issue and why?
Uh, so my favorite issue, I think to date, it's probably two. So one is we did one with Hezekiah Walker, who was my pastor at the time, and we called it Superman of Gospel. Because again, he's a pastor, he's a bishop over hundreds of churches, and a gospel artist who's still very relevant.
Mhm.
Um, I was like, man, he's Superman. So what we did a photo shoot at his house,
Wow.
put him in a Superman basically costume.
Wow.
His like shirt was open, just like how Clark Kent was.
Right.
I went to our local store and bought like a Superman T-shirt. Then he had a suit on with his white shirt, and it was like he looked like Superman. That was one of my prizes because it was our first original photo shoot. A lot of times, even now to this day, I'll just get photos from the record label and we'll just use what they already have. But every now and again, we'll do, one of a kind photo shoots. And that was the first one we did. So I was really proud of that one. And then we did one called Leaders of the New School.
Mhm.
I think it was the second time the Stellars was in Vegas. And I basically sent out an email to a few managers and was just like, I want, for so many years, it was all about Kirk, Yolanda, Fred, Hezekiah Walker, and that's it. Like nobody else could get through the door. But
Right.
like in 15, it was like a shift with
Yeah.
the top Cobbs, Anthony Brown, Travis Green. So I sent out an email like, hey, I want to do a photo shoot when you guys come to Vegas. And I thought it was going to be like maybe at least 10 artists. And I was happy with that. But we literally had like 48 artists come to this photo shoot. So we did like maybe 7 or 8 different covers. I mean, we had all of the content and people, they all came from Anthony, Tasha. Larry Reed was an artist at this time. He wasn't even the blogger that he is now. He came, Jason Nelson, Jonathan Nelson, Travis, Jacqueline, just so many artists. So uh, those two are like my favorites.
Okay. So, let's go into radio now. Uh, let's talk about how'd you get into radio and what give them some tips how to basically have a successful radio show. Because let me tell you guys, he's live on certain days of the week, and I've been on some of his lives, and not recently, but I have been on there some of his lives, and he has some interesting conversations because he's gonna talk about the news now, gospel news going on. So tell him about that.
So radio, man, again, all of this stuff just kind of, I don't want to say fell in my lap, but it's not anything that I thought I would be doing.
Right.
One day I had an inkling. I was like, maybe I want to get into radio, but to be honest, I didn't like speaking in front of people. People think and I am very outgoing and stuff like that, but public speaking, man, that used to be a fear of mine, which is why my mother looks at me now. She's just like, I cannot believe you're doing all of this because, this wasn't my MO.
Right.
And I had sent basically a tape to one of the radio programmers out here. I live in the Philly area now.
Mm-hmm.
Elroy Smith, he was like the big guy at Radio One, and I sent them a sample of my voice because in my mind I want to get into radio, and I emailed. I was like, "What do you think?" He was like, "No, it's not good." Basically, like we'll pass. And I was just like, and listen back to that, I was like, "Yeah, this sucked." Like I sound nervous. And fast forward, maybe 3 or 4 years later, I did an interview right where I am now. I'm at the radio station, but somebody was interviewing me. It was a Saturday show. It was like a hip hop gospel show at that time, and I interviewed with them. It was really really fun. And the office manager, at that time, she was like, "Oh, you got a magazine? Let me see your magazine." So we were talking, and I was like, "Maybe one day I can get a show here." She was like, "Oh, maybe." And then maybe like 6 months later, I had a friend of mine, Heather Covington. She sung in a choir with me,
Mm-hmm.
working here. So I'm like, Heather, you're on the radio? Like, you don't even listen to music. So she was laughing. She was like, yeah, I've been here for a couple months now, but I'm leaving because I'm going to work for a bank or something. She was like, so you want to work here? So I was like, I mean, they'll let me just work there. And she was like, yeah, I mean, you just got to come and train. So she asked them, and they were like, oh, that's cool. We know who he is. That'd be dope. I came here, I trained with her, and I was sitting right where I am right now. I was just like, Heather, I can't do this because it's like you got to work the levels. I was just like, I can't do this. And then you got to be jovial on the mic, and I just felt insecure. And she was like, Hasan, you can do this. You can do this. So, that was 2015, and it took me a couple months, to get my thing together. But now it's like second nature. So I mean, I love radio. Since I've been here, we won 5 Stellar Awards. Um, it's definitely rewarding. To get calls every day of people who listen to the station. They request songs, and then we do like what you were talking about when I go live. So we do something called a Root Rundown Report, where we talk about gospel music news and news in general, and that's become a big staple on my show. People look forward to that, every week. So man, I love doing radio. I never thought I'd be doing it. Much like you, I'm sure you love it as well.
Right.
It's kind of like talking to people, and it's really like second nature to me now. Almost 10 years doing it. But that's another thing, man. It's just like you just don't know God's plan for your life.
Right.
You hear it all the time. People go to school for one thing and then end up doing something totally different.
Right.
You just gotta be prepared. I think one thing Root Magazine did was it pretty much just opened up the floodgates for other things, working on a documentary now, on gospel music. So it just kind of opened up things that I never thought I'd be doing.
Yeah. He also has something out. I did see was I think it's the top 100 songs. You do a top 100 songs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So tell
yeah.
me about that.
Man, you're asking some great questions, by the way. Yeah, we did a feature last year called the 100 Greatest Gospel Songs of All Time. And this was just a brainchild of mine as well. Because there's so like gospel music, man, is so still underrated in my
Yeah.
book. You can go any act that you see. And I'm talking about from rock to gospel to hip hop to R&B. Any of those musicians you see on that stage, 9 times out of 10 they come from church.
Yeah.
From Janet Jackson to Missy Elliott to anybody, like these MDs are from the church, these drummers, these keyboard. So without these people, the industry cannot move. And it's because of their church influences. And then the music, like timeless music. If you
Right.
look on the charts right now, the gospel charts, dude,
Yeah.
it ain't, and you know this because you're in radio, it ain't none of this new stuff. And we love the new stuff, but this new stuff is not moving the needle on the charts. It's the old catalog stuff that's still high on the charts. It's what people are streaming.
Yeah.
I'm talking about your age. It's
Yeah.
not even just, it's your age. So that says that the old music is what's hitting.
Yeah.
The Hawking, the catalog Kirk Franklin, Andre Crouch. So I came up with this concept, the 100 greatest gospel songs of all time. And I started creating a list, putting in my notes on my phone. And it was quick to get to 100. Like, I didn't even really have to think. I was
Right.
just like, boom, boom, boom. And then next thing you know, I had over 100 songs. So I'm like, not one man is an island. So I started, of course, I have so many industry friends,
Right.
hit them up like, hey, we need to create a committee because it ain't going to be that good coming just from me. People are like, oh, please, this is personal list. So I wanted to get some industry insiders that kind of know. And I was like, hey, what do you guys think? And, maybe we could take some songs off, but I want to come with 100. So we met for probably 6 to 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Just flushed out this list. And then we had to number it from like 100 to 1. And it was so much fun. They were really appreciative and just happy to be a part. You know what it's like to get 12, 13 people on a call every week, and they would clockwork. And we were just flushing out the list on the Zoom for hours, 4 hours sometimes.
Mm.
Just, yeah, just flushing out the list. So, of course, it's controversial with every all of these lists because Apple Music came out with one. You're not gonna agree with everything, and we had some people who were just like, "What happened to this?" And some songs you forget. You're like, "Oh man!" But for the most part, I think we came up with a pretty comprehensive list. I got a lot of great feedback. Um, and then we had some issues with, oh, this person didn't write this song. You have this person as a writer, and sometimes you can't help that because my whole thing is like, hey, I went on Apple Music and they said this was a songwriter. I don't know everything, so you go
Yeah.
through those things, trying to give people proper credit and stuff like that. But for the most part, we got really really good feedback for it.
Yeah, well, that goes back to the artists when they release their music. They got to know their business part because if
Exactly,
it's not that right on the Apple Music, how we supposed to know?
exactly.
And that's a whole nother subject as its own. I ain't gonna even start on
Oh, fact.
that. So, outside of doing Root Magazine and radio personnel, doing radio stuff and um, doing all that, what are some of your hobbies that you like to do outside? Because I know
I love.
you do got a daughter, so
Yep. Yeah, I'm a big family man. Ben, I love my family. I love family time. Um, we're very close knit. It's weird because now I'm like the only male left. My grandfather passed away. My father-in-law passed away. So it's like me and a bunch of women. So, at Christmas time I'm like Santa Claus, and I'm like the only guy. So I love family time, but I love to travel.
right.
Um, vacation Monday. Been to 20 countries.
Wow.
Um, and so traveling, that's my favorite pastime. Just seeing different countries, and even here in the United States, like Chicago is one of my favorite cities. So I really like. If you ask me what do I love to do outside of all of this, I love to travel, and I make no apologies for that because I take quite a few vacations throughout the year. But I work very hard. Being a full-time entrepreneur is not easy. Um, what I'm saying, make a lot of sacrifices to where, I'm not always present, for my family like I should because I'm working on the next issue, working on a document, I'm on a conference call, I'm interviewing with you, then I'm doing it, you know what I'm saying? So, as an entrepreneur, your time is not just 9 to 5.
Right.
But when I take it down and I travel and I make memories. So that's one of my favorite things to do, travel.
Come on, travel. Um, I do like traveling, but I don't like going on planes.
Oh, you don't,
I don't like planes. Every time I
yeah.
go on a plane, I know I have okay, Ben, take you some aspirin or take you some medicine.
Come that's about.
Yeah, Ben, take you get you some gum. Ben, make sure you drink a lot of water, Ben, because I'm that type. I vomit if I have to. Yeah, so
What?
yeah, so I just like okay, I'm hearing turbulence or something. I say okay, and I still be feeling it. And I be halfway. I don't be all the way in the back. I'll be in the middle, and I still feel it. I said I can't. Yeah, I don't like doing planes, but I know I have to get on them. So I
Yeah.
just take my medicine and just be okay with it. Put my earbuds in and call it a
Yeah.
day. Or just
I,
go to sleep. What'd you say?
I said I'll hop on a plane in a minute.
You'll hop on a plane.
Yeah, I don't mind.
So listen, how can they submit their stuff to your magazine with basically where they can go to submit their stuff? Because I'm interested how to submit my stuff.
Yeah, basically, just email me at Hasan Hasan at rootmagazineonline.com. And we'll check it out. We get inundated with a lot of those type of questions. And for the most part, there is a cost only because we get so many of those inquiries, and it's just impossible to fulfill all of them. But I will say that it's worth the investment, and that's what a lot of things I like to tell upcoming artists as well. Like for instance, we had our Route 15 celebration, and we had an indie showcase.
Right.
Now, there was a cost for the independent artist. It wasn't a whole lot though.
Mm.
I can tell you it was $515.
That's
But
not
what that got was a performance slot. You're on the same stage with a Melvin Crispell III, a Kim Burrell, a Kiera Sheard. So
right.
you can't beat that. Then you got not only performance slot, but you got a write up in Root Magazine. So
Wow.
literally, those same artists who paid that $515 had a indie spotlight in Root Magazine. And
Okay.
then, the step and repeat, when you come in, take your pictures on the red carpet, your picture appeared on a step and repeat. Like I could have just put the main artist on there, but I put all of the artists on there.
Wow.
So you got come in the door, see the red carpet, and taking pictures with themselves. Like, oh my God. So it was a whole experience. I didn't treat the independent artists any different than I did the main show artists,
Right.
because they still made that investment. Although it wasn't that much money, but to some artists, $500 is $500. It's like, but what am I gonna get for that? So you don't
Right.
just 5 minutes of singing time, but you get the full experience. So I really tell artists to invest in yourself, even for what you do. Listen, you have relationships with radio programmers, but it's a cost associated with that. Like I can't just do that for free. This is a gift that
Right.
God has to help you.
Right.
A lot of this industry thinking, oh, what can I get? What can you do for me? But
Yeah.
we got bills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So but it's worth it. And I feel like you're a man of integrity, and you're doing what you're supposed to do for them, but it should be reciprocal. So
Yeah. You're right. A lot of the artists and people in general think that, oh, we just do this and we just pay our money and pay all our personal money for the thing, and everything's free, free, free. I'm sorry, we have to get that money because this stuff, everything costs. Nothing's
every,
free. Everything costs. When I
everything
say
costs.
literally everything costs, down to getting the licenses for the station,
There
uh,
you go.
the media based billboard charts. I went on a website that day. You had to pay to view a chart. I was like, what?
You got to pay to do it. That's what
I,
I'm saying. All this stuff costs, and like you said, licensing.
yeah,
People don't know anything about that. You have to pay. Just to play. You have to pay to play.
yeah,
They didn't look at that. They like all they say, Ben, can you get my song on your station?
yeah. That's all they
No,
said.
don't work that way.
Yeah, and it's a lot. It's a lot of hands. So I give props to the radio personalities, the people that are radio station owners, program directors, because it takes a lot, and then because we get thousands and thousands of emails, and then artists get mad about if they don't get their music played on time. Oh, well, I sent it a day ago. I said, well, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. You might have to send it again. We
It
get
don't work. They don't understand programming. Your song may be nice, but it may not be a good fit right now
yeah,
for
yeah. And
they
also,
don't understand that.
yeah, and plus we get thousands and thousands of emails, and
Yeah.
and, and sometimes some of the emails do irritate me because how you gonna send a song with no cover?
Listen, that's a whole nother call, Ben.
Yeah,
That's a whole other room, bro. When you talking about stuff like that, that's
yeah,
artist development, which is
yeah,
the root consulting, which I do as well. I
right,
consult because so many artists they don't have a clue.
right,
They don't. They just do stuff on their own, and yeah, it's a way you go about doing things in this industry. And some they just don't know. And something as simple as a cover art can
yeah,
have me, or lack thereof, will have me delete your email.
yeah. And if the cover art don't look right, if it look a hot mess or something,
Yeah,
I'm gonna delete it. I'm sorry.
yeah,
It has to look decent. It
yeah,
has, and they have to invest. Artists gotta invest into their career. A lot of
yeah.
them don't like to invest. They think everything's supposed to come hand to him for free. And I can go on and on about this subject. So we're gonna go get off the subject because I'm gonna go on.
Yeah, facts.
But yeah, I wanted to also say mine was kind of like yours when you got into radio. Mine when I got into radio, I started when I was 17. I started when I was 17 with this show, but this show was just only audio at the time. I didn't do any interviews. It was just a show. I just played music. It was like a playlist. So honestly, I didn't think I was gonna be in the industry, if that makes sense, like I am
Yeah,
now. Because I just wanted to go right after high school when I graduated when I was 18. Right after high school, I just wanted to go straight to college, go to school for business management, and then call it a day.
yeah,
God has something different for me. So now I'm going into 8 years in the industry as a whole. So yeah, it's been ups and downs, especially when you're young.
yeah.
It's really hard, but I think I'm doing a good job holding
You're doing
my
a great
standing
job,
ground.
and I'm glad, man. You see, one thing about you, you kind of knew early on what you wanted to do. I
Right.
kind of, once I finished school, I kind of, well, I was back and forth in college. That's a whole nother thing. I didn't fully graduate from college until I was 40 years old. I was
Wow.
back and forth working, going to school, stopping, quitting for 2 years, going back to school. All of that was a part of this journey. And I graduated in the thick of Root Magazine. So I
Mhm.
was really proud of myself. That was the first time I was very proud of myself, even with Root Magazine, all of that. No, I was most proud when I finally got my degree because I worked my butt off,
Yeah.
going to magazine, then logging on to school and sending in my papers by midnight while still having a family and helping my daughter with homework. Like, it was intense.
Yeah.
I made it. I did it. So I was most proud. But for you, you kind of knew early on what you wanted to do, which is great. And you're doing it and you're in your 20s. So by the time you my age, you're going to be a pioneer. You probably own a radio station or something like that.
Mhm.
So hats off to you, man. It's really great.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I wanted to thank you for being a part of this show. Because you could have said no. And before we do leave, can you let the folks know where they can follow you at and stay connected with you? And you gotta make sure y'all hit him up. I'm pretty sure the next issue coming out soon. He's coming out with another one, so make sure
Yeah,
y'all
yeah.
hit him up.
Yeah, man. So they can follow me at Root Magazine on all social media platforms. Just one word, at Root Magazine, ROOT Magazine. Yeah, hit me up. If you have any questions, I'm pretty much accessible, that way. Or you can email me, Hasan at rootmagazineonline.com, HASAN.
Mhm.
And I'll hit you back there as well. And yeah, our next thing we're working on actually is we partner with Church of God in Christ. So we're going to do their magazine journal for their big conference in November, their convocation. So excited about that.
So, are you doing a Dove event this year? Doing the Doves this year?
I am not. I
Oh,
literally,
oh,
yeah, I literally had a call this week because what happened was so basically the Doves would hire me
hmm
to use their after party. And basically for like a lot of the they're gospel artists that say that. But this year they don't have the space
hmm
anymore, for whatever reason. So all the Lipscomb University gave them was the arena, but all the other spaces like where I had my event, they took that from them. So um and I think it's just for this year. So I don't know what next year holds, but for this year, no, we're not doing the event. And this is the first time in about 4 years we did I think 4 consecutive years.
yeah.
So
Yeah, guys, let me tell you that event. Honestly, I have invited my family out to this event, and my mom's just like, "This is one of the best events I actually been." Because my mom was a singer by trade, and she used to sing with my aunts back in the day. She sung at all these different station events, GMWA, the Stella, the pre-Stella show, and all the other stuff. And she said, honestly, this was one of the best shows I've been to in a while. So I was like,
so man, that means a lot because as you know, I wasn't even there.
yeah, he wasn't there.
I wasn't there. So can you imagine producing an event but not being there? but I have such an amazing team, and my daughter was actually on that team, and I sent her specifically because she had just she was a PA, production assistant for the BET Awards,
Okay.
so she was getting her hands wet. So I was like, hey, go out to Nashville, and kind of help out with that. And so she was on the team. I had about a team of 5 or 6 people, and they did a bang up job, man. I was on a cruise, so I remember like when it was 10 o'clock there, you guys are at the party. It's like 7 in the morning in Greece, and I'm on the phone, like, and they FaceTime me, and JJ Harrison was singing, and he waving, and I'm just like, I'm all nervous because I'm like, I'm not there. And I
Right.
didn't even get a chance to you. I know you were there. So it's just
Yeah.
like bittersweet. But to hear testimonies like that, that's what brings me joy, man. It's the fact that I can produce something not even being there, and it goes off without a hitch, and people are still blessed by it. That means a lot.
I was hoping for another one this year. Come on, Dubs. Let's get it together. Let's get it together.
And we're gonna get it.
Well, yeah, once again, thank you, Mr. Hassan, for the opportunity to interview you. And guys, y'all know more about him. He's more in the back behind the scenes. Like I told him before we got on here, he's more behind the scenes. Yeah, like he said, he's not really that much talkative, but he's coming out. I see. He's coming out. But
Yeah, it's always weird for me doing interviews because I'm always the one doing the interviewing.
yes,
But no, this is cool, man. Like I said, I appreciate the opportunity.
yes, sir. So y'all have a blessed day.
Thank you, Ben.
You're welcome.